Please make sure you signed in the back. Would someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as is, knowing that I will be doing B first and then A?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Okay, motion has carried. Okay, with the district signage, I had talked to several people about adding vaping to the signs that are at the, like on the gym and in the high school, saying no tobacco free place. I would also like to add no vaping. And Pat looked up some of our board policies. Could you share those with us, Pat?
Yes, our board policy states prohibited use, possession, distribution, or sale of tobacco products and inhalant delivery systems. So we are covered under that. And I recommended to Susie that on this, when we change the signs, that we put on there, see board policy and give the policy numbers so people actually know that it's there.
Okay, does anybody have any objection to that over the summer, having the custodians order some new signs that say no vaping and then add that board policy? Okay, so do we have to, Mr.
We
There
can.
can be a consensus.
Can that be a consensus and then we can do it?
Yep, just vote on it.
And then we'll vote on the next meeting, because I know that it's been a problem lately. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the district calendar. We're just taking some input from board members. We will have, ask you to hold your comments. We will have a public comment if you have signed in and said you wanted to speak in a little bit. We're going to limit the entire public comment time to 30 minutes, and each person will get 3 minutes to speak if they choose. Because we have talked about this probably for the last 5 board meetings. Okay. So we voted for the 4-day week, and then we've had lots of complaints. Even though everybody wanted the 4-day week, now they're complaining that they have to go to school in June, even though that time has to be made up somewhere. Anybody have any comments?
The only comment that I will make is that our board policy states, after board approval of the calendar, any modification of the calendar will require board action. So unless the board takes action, the calendar will remain as it was approved.
Okay. Megan, is there a list of people that wanted to speak? Okay, Janae, you want to go first?
I'm a teacher, I'm there.
I'll run, if you want to run the 30-minute timer, I'll run the 30-minute timer.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, your time
Well,
started.
I'm Janae Henninger. I'm a kindergarten first grade teacher as we live position in first grade. Right now we're looking at extended year versus extended day, right? Or even just kind of thinking about extended day. I know that last board meeting, or not last month, but one previous than that, the board was kind of concerned about young students going to school for a longer period of time, correct? There's stamina, right? These are 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And I do want to just speak to that. I've spoken to my team and then lots of the kindergarten team as well. Right now, as it is, we as kindergarten first grade teachers we're requiring a lot of these kiddos. And if you look back at the standards, 30, 40 years ago, they did not have to do what they're doing right now. We expect a lot of them. And because we expect a lot of them, we are pushing, shoving all this curriculum down their throats, saying, okay, we have every minute of every day is counted for, correct? We have taken out things like playtime, interactive sharing, social skills that these kids really, really need. And we're seeing that effect in our behaviors later on in the year, throughout the year. in upper grades, that these behaviors are there because a lot of these kids don't know how to interact with each other. We do not have those structured times or structured plays. So I'm speaking to that extended time. We would utilize that. Interacting with them, working on social skills, letting them play. These are 5 and 6 year olds. They need time to interact with each other. They need time to play. And we as teachers are going to utilize that time by pulling 1 or 2 kids back at a time, right? Talking with them, teaching them how do we share? How do we, say sorry? How do we do those kinds of things? Because our children are seriously lacking these social skills. Having extended time throughout the day to focus on that, and then bring in writing those kinds of things that we haven't, curriculum-wise, that we haven't gotten to, it just would be really beneficial. So that's what I have to say. Don't worry about the K1 kids. We will utilize that time, and it'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Moore, Mr. Mendez, are you going to?
Yeah, I'll take a minute. I'm kind of representing 3rd grade. We talked about this pretty extensively. We're not for extending the year. The way we do the dual language, we really hit it hard, and we don't have a lot of time to do anything extra in the day. So that extra 35, 40 minutes would actually be excellent and well used for us. So that's how we feel.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Oh, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Just that I agree with that as one of the dual language teachers on the Spanish side. That Mrs. Henninger explained to you, that amount of teaching that goes on, if we're able to extend the day a little bit, that'll give us as dual language teachers a little bit more time. I mean, from the time they come into my room, I mean, I'm going as hard and as fast as I can. As sometimes I'm dragging them with me, right? So if I have a little bit more time, that gives them a little bit of breathing room too. So I agree with what Mr. Moore and what Mrs. Henninger had said. I'd rather extend the day than go further into June, as it is I also do summer school, and I like to give my family a break as well. And so if I have to go into June, then summer school will probably not be an option for me as a teacher. I would probably just hang it up. I want to give my family as much time as I can as well. So that's.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Schuster.
Is there any way that, the grade school could get out earlier for the younger grades, and then that high school, middle school get out, at an extended time? Just because I know that, Bill and Adrian, they have the extended day. But, I know a lot of people are worried about less class periods, but when I was in school, there was also 0 hour, and so I would rather my child who would be in high school have more time in those class periods at that time than have a longer school year. And honestly, you guys already, I've been to the meetings, but I just think that if there's more time for them to learn, especially for those core classes that are required, then that to me personally makes more sense to just accept, because I think Adrian goes at 7:45 to 3:30, or is it 8? So 8 to 3:30, then if you have the 7 periods, then that gives you, I don't know. But about 15-minute class times, and then if there was a 0 hour, then 0 hour can count for religious classes or weights and stuff like that. So personally, I think that would be the best option of what I see.
Okay. You want to address that? I just know I talked to Darren about that, and he said with the busing, we kind of have to all get done at the same time. That was his response.
They've talked about letting the elementary kids getting picked up sooner or something, but I don't know the logistics of that. We're looking into it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheryl Esplin?
If I could just say something on that bus thing, we regularly have a bus that has to come back and pick up kids. They go drop off kids and come back. Is there a way that we could say, okay, well, we could extend the day, like Ms. Henninger says, but could it be like, if you're in with this certain radius, that the buses can drop you off and make it back in a half hour or 45 minutes, then those kids will get dropped off. If you want to pick up your kids so they don't stay, that's fine. And for those rest of the kids, we have some sort of enrichment. We have the assistants work with them and do activities. We already have an after-school program that would allow the assistants who would be losing that Friday with the 4-day week, those assistants could then gain some hours back because they're working that enrichment time at the end. I'm just thinking we need to think creatively. I feel like everything's being said, oh, no, we can't do that because we don't do it that way, But could we think creatively? I feel like the calendar committee really should have kicked in February when the decision was presented, or was it presented that 75% of the community and stakeholders want 75%. That's when we should have had stakeholders from every building saying, oh, okay, how can I make this work? What could we do at our building? Instead of after school, could we shift that to a Friday? Could we do job sharing, where maybe some of our assistants are saying, hey, I would rather continue to get the salary, so I'd like to do maintenance tasks. Maintenance might need help with this. Could we do something like that? And some assistants, I know some assistants are saying, hey, I'm here for the insurance. The pay isn't that great. As long as I'm still got the insurance, I'm good. Is that true? Yes. So, I know I have friends in Fruitland who were assistants, and when they switched, they're like, yeah, I was worried, but I kind of like having my Fridays off, and now I do this on Fridays. So I'm just saying we could flex. We can be creative. We can figure it out. The other thing is, I guess I just want to make it work for our kids. I was one of the teachers that originally voted for 5 days. So if this is what our community wants, and this is what 75% of us want, then we just need to come together and say creatively, how can we work together to make this work for all the kids in our building? And it might mean we're going to do something differently. It might mean we have to alter our contract and say, yep, for this year, we will go 8.5 hours. And if enough teachers are willing to do that, do the teachers run the contract, or does the contract run the teachers? That's my question. If we're willing to do that, then why can't we do that? Why do we have to be stymied because we've always done the buses this way? Can't we do it another way? Can't we think of another way? Can we get together and make some creative solutions?
Okay, thank you. J.D. Bounds?
So I have a high school student, a middle school student, and 3 grade school students here in Nilsa. So I'm in favor of the 4-day week. I'm in favor of an extended day. And I'm not in favor of an extended year. But I work with math every day, so there's something that has to give. I'm not in favor of the OTI after school. My high school and my middle school students, from talking with them, they don't take advantage of that time. And they said amongst their peer group that their peers don't take advantage of that time. It's just a waste of time for them. Where they're out of school, they don't get to start sports, and they're just hanging out. They're not doing their homework. They're not going to visit their classes. Now my students are maintaining good grades. Can't speak to those who are not. But amongst their peer groups and those that they know, I've not heard of any that are actively using that to benefit their education. I'd also challenge anyone to come up with good hard statistics that show that the OTI time is effective. So if we have, in order to cut down to 4 days and not extend the school year, that might be some time that we can gain to change that OTI program. As far as the 7-period or 8-period day, my wife and I are split on that. So I won't present an argument there. Because if we're both, we cancel each other out. As far as extending, so if we go every Friday, right, there's 9 weeks in a period, there's 4, whatever, in a quarter, we're roughly at 30, 25 to 35 Fridays that we're cutting out. I know if we extend the year, that's not an extra 25 or 30 school days. So I think there is still possibly some savings with doing 4 days and extending the school year, but you're eating away at some of those savings in the district by extending the school year. Every extra day you're adding on. Now it's why do we go to 4 days in the first place? And I know part of that is for district savings. So again, I'm in favor of 4-day. I'm in favor of extending the school day. And I think the place to do that is to change the OTI in order to make this work.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Hartley?
Sure. So, calendar or 7-day period? We doing calendar? Or are they both on there?
Yeah, we can set the calendar. It's up to the administrators to set whether it's seven periods, 8 periods.
Okay.
We just set the calendar.
Yeah, I guess I really don't really care, except for the fact that obviously nobody really wants to go into June. It's very prevalent that that's the case with most people. I can go 5-day or 4-day, but if I was to choose one, I would go with calendar 1 that you guys have done before, because it gives 1 day, Friday, for kids to come in, where I know that Vale and Adrian do that as well, instead of extending the day, because that just puts, I know that Mr. Brown doesn't like the OTI, but my kids use it, and my kids use it a lot to go to teachers and get caught up before sports, but my younger kids have struggled with that. And so I know that that's what some of the upper administration wanted, and I think that should somewhat be considered, even though I'm the only one here that thinks that. Just because I think it works. It's a little more not as drastic of a move for these kids. I know it's not as great as what the teachers would want, but it's better than what they have now. And I'm against the 7-day period, even though I know a lot of teachers like that, because I feel like that my kids, especially in the middle school level, where they're getting taught English and language arts 2 different periods, and math part B at 2 different times, that's really making a big difference in my kids and how they're progressing in those core classes. And so I think that to reduce that to 50 minutes instead of whatever 2 periods is would be not a great idea for them. And I love the opportunities that my kids have had with the 8-day period. And I know that I hope Brett still does the whole meeting where we talk a little bit, because I feel like there's other ways we can. I know the graduation, the seniors, they're not taking classes. I think all that can be handled in a lot of other ways to make kids come to school, whether you increase graduation requirements or you force them to come. I know other schools are at 26, and others have tried to get kids to go to college and other things. Like, there's other options than just trying to make a longer period for kids. Even though I know some classes definitely could probably use it, whether it's welding or whatever that need it. But there's definitely, for me, way more opportunities for my kids in NISA with that 8-day period. So I like that. That's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Anna Long.
Yes, I went and I did a little bit of research, because I know extended year, extended day has been difficult for a lot of people. And so I went back in the history of NISA. I was only able to go back to 2005. But from 2005, I know for sure, probably quite a few years prior to that, NISA went to school from 8 to 3:30 with a 0 period at 7 a.m. So until 2013, we were going a similar schedule as other schools that, go till 3:30. So I think just the most important thing that I found as I went through this is we have done it before. And if you go to the high school and you look at the awards, right, the years that we were great, 2004, 5, all the way through 2014 was the last one. And 2014, 15 is the first year that we went to a 46-minute class period. So that's going from 55, 56-minute class periods down to 46. That's where I see that change happening. So just some research I was able to find on the extended day or extended year. I think extended day is what our students need.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. De Leon.
How do you argue with history? No, my point in this is, I think learning loss occurs over the summer, right? Now, case to be made is I brought it up. We looked at 4-day versus 5-day. I talked about when we were successful. Right? That was my argument point all along. So when you look back, I mean, prior to that even, right? We were going to school in June. Right? We were going after, in fact, graduation happened when I was in high school, and then kids would return back to school, right, the next week. So seniors graduated, and then we would come back to school. So, I mean, that was happening. So that's one thing when you're referring to history, right? That's what was occurring as well. So, I mean, contract was different. I'm assuming I didn't pull up the contract from then, but extended day. But we're contracted 190 days period, right? So if that means we can throw in an extra 15 minutes per day and still go into the end of May, that's extended year, extended day. You're utilizing the contract 100%. Right now, we're getting, the district's getting shorted from our current contractual language, right? So, and I openly say that, and I'm sure people won't be happy about that, but we're contracted to 190 days, and we're not working it. So, if that's what's best for kids, then we work 190 days. But anyway.
Okay, that was all that was on my list of people who wanted to speak.
Can I put my name in there?
Sure. Go ahead, Mr. Columbia.
The handout I'm giving them and that I want you to read is some information I got from some Idaho schools. And like going back to 07 in Idaho alone, there were 7 schools that had, 12 schools in 07 that had 4-day weeks. And right now it's, I think, at 81 on the backside there. They got that list. They're clear up to 81. And the only reason I bring that up is because this is not like reinventing the wheel. Other schools do it. And on the flip side of that, they have some local schools that just recently went to 4 days. And it's kind of this math. You have to extend the periods. We have to have 7-period days. That's the easy fix. That's how they do it at other schools. I've worked for almost 30 years now in 3 states, in 4 districts. And I've known a lot of coaches in the states of Idaho and Ohio, not so much in Oregon because I wasn't a head coach. I've never even heard of an 8th grade or 8th period day from any of my coaches, workers, whatever, people that know somebody from down the road or whatever. So 8-period days are very rarefied. Do your research, call around, find out. But there's not a lot of schools that have that. And so I think the obvious fix for me in my eyes is that we have to extend the day. Right now, PE, they get like 30 minutes, basically 30 minutes to work out because they have passing time and then they have to get dressed at both ends. Lab-based classes don't have enough time to finish. We usually have to do our labs in 2-day increments instead of just 1 day. And that breaks up the lab at times. Sometimes you can't help it even with a longer day, but there are certain classes that can definitely benefit from longer time periods. So that's all.
Thank you. It's nice to have all your input. It's kind of sad that it came after we already made the decision because we've been talking about this January, February, March, and April, and we're going to have teachers hardly there now. There's all that. So, anyway, anybody got something you want to say? Or?
I want to say something, and it might not be popular, but that's okay. I'm not here to make friends. Nobody wants to go into June. We've listened to, before we decided on a calendar, we listened to several very reputable teachers that said shortening up the days is not the answer. Everybody wants time with the kids. That being said, Ryan worked hours and hours on these calendars. I mean, over and over again. He did a lot of research. We've done a lot of research on. We keep trying to compare ourselves to other schools, right? Well, so-and-so's doing this. We got to be competitive by doing what everybody else is doing. Calendar 1 was the closest thing to what everybody else was doing and what was suggested that we follow by our administration as to being what's best for the kids. That, in my opinion, I think we ought to adopt calendar 1. And I know you guys all have your opinions, but in my opinion, I think calendar 1 would be It's the same amount of days as calendar 3, but we don't go into June. It solves some of these problems. I think it's kind of a compromise between what everybody's saying. And I just want you guys to consider that. That's my opinion.
Was it an extended day?
No.
What does calendar 1 look like? I don't know.
It's the one that had the enrichment Fridays on it.
Oh, okay.
And which adds 1 Friday a month. And it gives the kids the opportunities to catch up on stuff that they might need help catching up on. My kid also takes advantage of the OTIs. That is something that even if it's just for a few minutes a day, she can run in and catch up on stuff with her teachers if she needs to. There's those little moments of time that these students need, even if it's running in and out of a class to talk to a teacher. And I think that calendar gives those kids that opportunity a little bit better than the other. But you guys take it or leave it.
Is it too late to change? No. I'm just asking.
The problem that we might run into with changing the calendar, going to a different calendar, there's going to be some changes in the contract, again, which have already been addressed. We should be aware, and I've not talked to nutritional services, but when you talk about an enrichment Friday, it usually, the Friday would usually have a meal. And I believe that things have already been set up and signed.
I believe all they have to do is submit how many days.
Right, well, I'm just
And
saying.
it's the same amount of days.
I'm just saying, some of these things have been into effect, and our supervisors have, I'm sure, talked to their staff about making some changes. And, I'm not against the number 1 calendar, I'm just pointing out some things that have already happened. And those are things that, we had, 4 calendars to look at.
Well, that's my
And
other
then-
suggestion, is that next year,
We have
we have 1 calendar presented to us, and all of this has been done before that calendar has been presented to us.
Yes.
Just FYI, the public comment is closed. We did our 30 minutes, so I'm sorry if we missed anybody. But so basically, calendar 1 would have, out of the 4 Fridays, 1 would be like students would all be there, and the other 3 are off. Or do you remember that? So the teachers get it off, the students get it off.
Really, the only difference is that it adds 1 enrichment Friday a month. Am I right? Is that pretty much the only difference?
But the other 3 Fridays, the teachers and the students would be off. Is that right?
That's all right.
That's what he said. He made it up. So.
There's a 1 in service a month and then 1 enrichment a month.
Oh, so the teachers would get 2 Fridays
Yes.
off, and the students would get 3.
Yes. Unless there's like a Monday off, then it's shift.
Students technically 4, right?
No, the enrichment is not optional. The enrichment is not optional. All students would come.
It'd be a full day of school or half day?
A full day of school. 1 Friday a month would be a full day of school. 1 would be teacher in service, and then 2 would get 2 Fridays off. And the students would get 3. And with that, we didn't have to go into June.
No.
The only calendar that went into June was the one that maintained release at the same time, but the student were released at the same time.
And this had 54-minute class periods. School ended at 3:06. Mr. Fournier, how long are your class periods now?
Like 47 minutes.
Okay, so this is 54, so we'll give you a little bit more time.
That's only if it's a 7-period day.
Yeah, if it's 7 periods on the bottom, it's a 7 period. If 54 minutes, you go 7 period up there. If you keep it at 8 periods, it's 46.
So, on another note, do you know when we're going to plan on meeting and talking about 7 or 8 periods? You had talked about having a.
But that's not a board decision.
That's not a board decision.
Admin decision.
I know. I'm just asking him when when he was planning on
There's a
having that
lot
discussion.
crammed in between now and graduation, it would probably be the following Wednesday or Thursday.
Because we're not talking about the periods
Right.
tonight.
Right.
I was just wondering when.
And the calendars you're looking at can be done with a 7 or 8 period day. So.
So that would be another meeting, the parents are
Yeah,
talking
I
to.
promised a parent meeting.
What was that?
I promised a parent meeting.
Well,
But there is so much crammed in between now and
We
graduation.
understand that.
It will probably be the Wednesday or Thursday after that. And then I don't know, Analog had showed me some calendars. There is one that's ending times 3:26 and you get out on May 30th. That looks pretty good to me. I think that was worth looking at.
So,
The total teacher days
Maribel, what do you guys think?
is 180, that's calendar 2.
No, but what do you think about calendar 1?
My concern is the enrichment Fridays. One day, I mean, the teachers are asking for more extended day for social emotional sharing, those building blocks of being a adult, growing up into learning how to socialize in the community. And having one Friday extra seems like that enrichment Friday is gonna give them more to do to come up with a lesson plan for an extra Friday, when consistently, which I'm guessing kids need, Monday through Friday consistency of extending the day and incorporating that into the day would be better than having one Friday a month to work on these skills. Like, I mean, that's what I'm hearing them say.
Megan, what are your thoughts?
I'm just saying, as somebody who subbed in Adrian, Vale, Ontario, Nissa, Meridian, Boise, the minutes are a big deal. 46 to 54, 56 minutes. It seems like it's not a lot, but it adds up really, really fast.
So are you in favor of calendar 1 or not?
I think consistency is key. I know I have calendars all over the place, and I occasionally miss a Friday. My kids are like, we don't have school Friday, or my kids say we do have school Friday, and I don't know half the time what's going on. I think if we know Monday through Thursday, and then we don't go on a Monday, we go on a Friday, I think that helps as a parent for me to know what's going on when I've got my hands in lots of different things.
Pat?
As a parent, I would think that knowing Monday through Thursday, there's school, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are weekend days. You learn to plan, and it is consistent. So.
Mr. Blue?
Well, I remember as a parent, we went to this every now and then Friday before, and it was, I don't know, coming from the outside and working patrol all the time at night, you only hear certain people, but a lot of frustration about it. Some of the frustration what Megan was bringing up is the consistency issue, not knowing which Friday you have to go and which Friday not, and stuff like that. I believe in the consistency piece, whether it's a 5-day calendar week or a 4-day calendar week, it doesn't matter to me, as long as it's consistent, we know what's going on. I'm really ambivalent when it comes to whether we're extending the year or whether we're extending the period of time.
Is there a way to do a 4-day week without going into June, like extending the day?
Did you get this email from Anna?
Yeah, we just have to end your day at 3:26.
Yes, calendar 2 was that extended this day.
And it goes to June 30th. And so soon as we come back 3
May
days.
30th. May 30th.
Sorry.
May
May 30th. Yeah, about 3 days after graduation.
And well, calendar 2 did have them out on May 23rd.
I have May 30th.
This is
That's a different.
So so the consensus I'm hearing is nobody wants to go in June. And so if we could figure out a way to do the 4-day week without extending into June.
But we've also heard extending the day offers certain benefits.
Right, if we went a little bit longer and got done in May.
Just reduce OCI by half, but it still would have OCI. I would say, if you don't mind, more on behalf of just like processing that at the social emotional level for students. I can speak to that if you're okay. It's fine. No, just to answer you. It seems like you had a question, so I thought answering it. So that's kind of my role, right? I think it would be beneficial for there being time for that within the elementary specifically. Because I will say having one counselor for 500 students, I would struggle with the extending the day, but having that idea, that would be a time where teachers, it would be very beneficial to have the teachers partake in implementing those social emotional curriculum. When you talk about lesson plans, we're looking at curriculum that provides lesson plans. Just to answer some of those questions that we're looking to implement. We actually have some teachers piloting a program right now. So, sorry. I don't know if that's public comment or answering your question.
Okay.
And it looks like this one, the not extended year, sorry. It said it's 151 school days. School ends May 30th with 1,046 hours, and school would end at 326. And the teacher days on this is 180, but Bobby mentioned 190 is contracted. Is that right?
Which number are you looking at?
No, she's looking at one that.
Oh, I just, okay.
I just read it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it either.
So basically.
Okay, so it sounds like we will have to continue to work on this. We can't make any decisions in work session, so we appreciate all your comments and your input. Thank you. Okay, we are going to go into executive session to review and evaluate the performance of the superintendent or any other public officer, employee, or staff member unless requested. This is adjourned.